So as you guys know, the USA's birth rate slowed quite a bit as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. But even before the pandemic, this has been a general trend for the past 20 or so years, perhaps more. And there are several causes to this lower birth rate. And it's not just here, it's like Western Europe, I think Australia, Japan especially, they're really dealing with it hard. But I feel like there might be a few things causing this, but I think the biggest is cost of living. That is probably the largest contributing factor as far in the United States as far as our birth rate is concerned. I can't obviously speak on behalf of all other countries because there's little intricate reasons as to why that's happening like elsewhere. But so cost of living, inflation, which is especially true now because I think inflation was at like 6%, which is the highest it's been since the beginning of the Reagan administration 40 years ago in I believe 1982. So that's like the last time there was like, this much inflation. So it's big. It's really big. And perhaps this might be kind of a smaller reason, but maybe not. But climate change, right? I mean, why would you want to bear children in a time when the planet might not be around for much longer? What's the point? So all of these, I think, are really contributing to this declining birth rate. Now, with all this being said, you might be wondering, where do I stand on having kids? Where do I stand on, say, like, bearing children? Am I against the idea? Do I want kids? Allow me to dive into these questions. The general answer is it depends. It depends if I find that special someone. It depends how much worse the state of the planet becomes. There's no telling how much longer the biosphere is going to be around for, right? Because, I keep seeing like doomsday scenarios like 2015, we're all going to die, or 2050, my bad, we're already past 2015, 2050 or we're all going to die, 2040 or, whatever the case is, it tops itself every year, right? So there's a lot of uncertainty on that front. And also, obviously, ghosting is a huge problem. So, like, hey, like, the more I get ghosted, the more on, like, wherever it is, Tinder, whatever, the more I get ghosted on there, the less likely that potential bond is to form, which obviously would destroy any chances of marriage and having kids, obviously. But as I close in on 27, because I'm like a little more than a week away from turning that particular age, I'm still single and nowhere near getting married or having kids. But there's another aspect to all of this. If I were to be a father one day, there's no telling if, like, my son or daughter would be born healthy and not having anything like Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, like being in a vegetative state or something like that, right? Having some kind of like extreme disability that requires a lot of support and dependence and that kind of things, a lot of services, right? So I don't think I would be up for that kind of responsibility. Like, call me childish, call me like selfish, but I'm sorry. But like, if that kind of thing happens, it would really be hard for me as a parent. So, because as an autistic kid, if my teachers or whatever see this video, they might disagree with what I'm about to say, but you know what? It's coming from the heart and I'm going to say it anyway. I was a very needy child. I drove my parents and my teachers fucking insane. I did. If I were to have a talk with them, obviously having not having seen them in years, they'll probably say, "Oh, no, you weren't. No, you weren't." Yes, I was. Yes, I was. Let's not sugarcoat anything. I was a little shit. So, with all this being said, it makes me wonder, do I really want to produce my offspring? Do I really want to bring more Jackson to this world? what benefit would that have? What benefit would that serve? I don't know. I don't know if it would do much for society, right? So, to sum all it up, I'm on the fence when it comes to having kids. I'm not vehemently opposed to it, but I'm also not eager or keen in doing so. A lot of it just really depends on, my personal life and how my dating life goes, if it progresses into anything further, if, I develop, again, a special bond with someone that really flourishes, because obviously that has yet to happen. Obviously, the pandemic, I think, really plays a role in that kind of rut, that kind of delay in that sort of aspect in like building relationships and all that kind of stuff. Climate change, obviously, why would I bring a kid to a world that's already gonna collapse in on us? Obviously, this whole thing with Ukraine and Russia's provocation, although that might just be kind of a Western media trick that they're doing. I don't know. Russia might not even do anything anyway. So when it comes to having kids, that's where I stand. I'm not exactly for it, but I'm also not against it. I'm really in between. It really depends on the circumstances that come down in the near future or just overall future. So there's your answer.